This session is called Ready, Set, Go Digital. It's our community virtual question and answer session that allows any community member to be able to ask questions about what it means for their school to go digital. Today, we're going to present information to you on a broad variety of topics, including asset and risk management, communications, facilities, finance, information technology services, safety and security, and of course, teaching and learning. My name's Marielle Milano. I'm the Director for Digital Curriculum, and I have been with OCPS since 2014. I'm a proud educator, wife, mother, daughter, and community member. The picture on the left is from my very first kindergarten classroom at Bonneville Elementary School. And then the picture at the bottom is from a recent East River High School graduation, where one of those kindergarten students left OCPS as a proud graduate. Today, I'll be sharing information with you on behalf of teaching and learning, but I know many elementary school parents may be concerned about what this means for their students. I want to assure you that as the Director of Digital Curriculum and one of the coordinators of the Lunchstead Digital Learning Program, I am an early childhood educator, and we would never ask parents to participate in a program that didn't have the best interest of students in mind. If you're not sure you're in the right place, remember that this session is for parents, families, and community members of any Lunchstead Digital Learning School. A full list of the Lunchstead Digital Learning Schools can be found at https://digital.ocps.net. This year, we're welcoming 50 elementary schools to the Lunchstead family. They are, however, not the first elementary schools to go digital. We have had elementary schools as a part of the Lunchstead Digital Learning Program since our very first cohort. The first digital learning schools included Millennia Elementary School, Pinewood Elementary School, and Weatherby Elementary School, and they were soon accompanied by Millennia Gardens Elementary School. These schools paved the way for what digital learning in elementary school looks like in our district and helped us to make informed decisions about the direction we're going to take the program. This is one of our efforts to give you just what you need just in time. You may have attended an earlier Virtual Parent Academy session that was dedicated to telling you the why of the district is going digital. Today's session is going to cover the what. That's going to be what exactly will change when our district goes digital in your school. And then later in the summer, we'll be showing you how you can help as a parent when you attend one of our digital open houses at your child's school. The goal of today's session is to make sure you understand what digital learning is and that you'll be able to identify the changes it brings to your family. Our topics today will include what is digital learning, what are the goals for digital learning, what changes can I expect as a parent, and what can I do to help prepare my family. Let's start with what digital learning is. The Florida Department of Education defines digital learning as tools and information that can be viewed on a digital platform, integrated content, formative assessments, the actual classroom infrastructure, and even assessment platforms. Now let's think about what you can expect as a parent. You're going to see changes to the classroom environment, classroom curriculum, classroom instruction, and the homeschool connection. Let's start with what changes you'll see in the classroom environment. There'll be changes to the classroom instructional model, classroom technology, the classroom organization, classroom management, and classroom procedures. One of the biggest things I hear from elementary parents is, what will it mean? Will my students be sitting in front of a computer all day long? The answer is no. Students are going to use technology to support what they're already learning in whole group, small group, and individual instruction. But it's not the same as virtual school. Your students will always have an in-person teacher to guide them along the learning process, just like they do now. I like to think of blended instruction as moving from paper full to paper purposed. Sometimes we use too much paper in the classroom, and it's just because we don't have other tools available to us. Our goal is to still make paper available to every student in elementary school, and to use paper when it's the most appropriate thing for our kiddos, like when they're first learning to read and write. But as they grow older, we may use slightly less paper and start to use some digital tools that help us to do things that paper could not. But remember, we always make sure that when we make those decisions, and that's the teacher making those decisions, they're doing it with the best interest of students in mind and thinking about what's developmentally appropriate. The next big thing you're going to notice is changes to the classroom technology. Parents always think that the Lunch Ed Digital Learning Program is all about laptops, and it's not. It includes lots of changes on campus that are really exciting to students and teachers, including getting rid of those old overhead projectors and replacing them with document cameras like the ones you see in red here. Those document cameras allow us to magnify things like butterflies and other things from our classroom explorations and put them on the big screen for students where they can actually see them in real time and not have to be struggling to kind of peek over the head of a peer to be able to get the best view.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
We'll also be replacing traditional whiteboards and replacing them with interactive flat panels. Those flat panels will invite students to come up to the front of the screen, touch the board, and be able to manipulate and learn with their friends. And yeah, we'll also be replacing some of the classroom desktops that have been in the back of elementary school classrooms for decades, and replacing those with iPads in K-1 and convertible touchscreen tablets in grades 2 through 5. Remember that we are not going to a paperless environment. Students are going to be using their iPads right alongside those physical, tangible manipulatives in kindergarten and first grade classrooms. And they'll be using their laptops in grades 2 through 5, not to just sit and get and practice, but to create, including making a movie like this youngster is on the screen. Another exciting change to our classrooms is going to be the installation of audio enhancement. That includes in-ceiling speakers, as well as a lavalier microphone for teachers to wear so that the student can hear the teacher no matter where they are in the room. This is especially important in elementary school. There'll also be a brand new cue ball. What's a cue ball? It's a throwable microphone, and it can be used by students to be able to share what they know with the rest of the classroom. You can see in the pictures below that the cue ball can be used by the teacher while students are sitting on the carpet to throw the ball to them and get them to answer questions about a story they're reading. It can be used as part of a game, like in the center picture, to get kids up and moving and collaborating. And it can also be used on the right for students to pick other students to share their ideas with the class. Remember, digital learning is not all about laptops. It's about collaborative, exploratory learning for all students in elementary school. You might also notice some changes to classroom organization over time. Some classrooms still have students sit in rows more often than they would probably like. So as a part of the digital learning transformation, remember we said that students are going to be working on collaborative exploratory experiences. And for students to be able to collaborate, well, they have to sit together. So over time, you'll see students moving out of rows and into tables where they can collaborate and learn with their teacher. You might also notice some differences in where students find things like their morning work when they go into the classroom. Students will always be able to see the directions from their teacher written up on the whiteboard. That won't change. But in addition to that, you'll be able to see some of your students' assignments in a learning management system called Canvas, where students can click on an icon and see that work right in front of them, so they don't always have to struggle to see it written on the board. This also helps because our teachers can see what our students are thinking right away and be able to see what all students are thinking, not just the kids that they call on. So if they ask the class, which apple is your favorite, they'll be able to see everybody's answers right in front of them right away. That helps them get class started and make sure that it meets your child's needs. You'll also see some changes to the way we supervise your classroom. And the reason that that's important is because we hear often from elementary parents that they're worried about their students using the computer on their own. So we want to make sure you know how we're keeping your students safe. Teachers are always up and walking around the room, and that won't change in elementary school. But now when they're up and walking around the room, they'll also be able to see what the students are doing right on their own laptop. See those little tiles on the picture on the right? That's each student's computer screen, so the teacher can see exactly what your student is doing. And if something goes wrong, they can shut it down right away. Redirect students, share their screen, and even send them messages encouraging them to keep going and staying on task. We call that classroom management software, and it's something that every school and every teacher has access to keep our students safe. That's our top priority. If you have any questions relating to digital learning, you can always type them in the chat box, or if you're viewing this later, you can send your questions to digitallearning@ocps.net. You might also be wondering what will change in the curriculum. There'll be a couple changes. One is going to be in the variety of ways students can access their instructional materials or textbooks. And then there's also going to be some changes into what we call literacy. Let's learn some more. In addition to paper textbooks, which will not go away, students will also have access to their instructional materials either right on their iPad or laptop through an app or through our district's Launchpad. Launchpad is awesome. It gives students access to all of their instructional materials in just one click. As a parent, I know I'm never able to remember all of my passwords. And some elementary school parents have asked us, how, oh my goodness, are my students going to be able to do that too? Well, the good news is they won't have to. Inside of Launchpad, each time they click on one of these icons, it automatically logs them in so they can see their textbook right in front of them, just like that. The great part about this is that as a parent, you can also access Launchpad on your mobile phone or desktop or laptop at home. So I do this with my own daughter, so if she forgets her textbook at school, we can log in and keep going on our homework. Remember, we will not be getting rid of paper textbooks or workbooks. We'll just be adding these exciting digital materials to the mix. Now, when I was in school, we thought of literacy as learning to read, to write, and learning about the world around us through science. Now, in addition to those basic foundational literacies, it's important for our students to learn about digital literacy too. What's digital literacy? It means learning how to be a good digital citizen online, as well as how to find information on the internet and being able to use technology to learn, not just to socialize. We parents ask us a lot, when will my students be able to learn to type? Well, the answer is that they're going to learn to type just like they would learn to write as part of English language arts. We provide Typing Club as a resource for all of our schools to be able to help students learn to write and produce and publish writing. Your students will also have access to a digital literacy course in every grade level, beginning in first grade. And each year, during their normal English language arts class, their teachers will be teaching them things like how to compose an email when they're in the intermediate grades, or how to make sure they're being safe online and avoiding cyberbullying. That's just a part of how kids learn now, and it's going to be integrated into their reading and language arts classroom. If you have any questions, you can type them into our public chat box, or you can email them to digitallearning@ocps.net. Now let's talk about what will change in instruction. We're going to talk a little bit about when and where students will access the internet, the tools they'll have access to, how they're actually going to complete their work, and classroom assessment. Students are going to be able to use the internet in all of their classrooms at their teacher's direction. There will be access to the internet in all instructional spaces, the media center, and even the school's lunchroom. But don't worry, when your student accesses the internet, they're safe and protected. All of our internet traffic is filtered. That means that it's compliant with the Children's Internet Protection Act, and they can't see things like adult or objectionable content. We filter by grade level, not by the device. So no matter what device the student is on, we always know how to keep them safe. We also always know what sites your students visit. So if there's ever an issue, we'll be able to address it right away. Students will use the internet to access things like Google Apps for Education and Canvas. We get lots of questions about what tools students will have access to. And you might be wondering, will my students still be able to use pencils and crayons and paper? And the answer is yes. They're going to still have access to all of the tools that they would normally have access to in an elementary school classroom. But in addition, they'll also have access to the full Google Apps for Education suite, including things like Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, and even Gmail once they reach grade 3. So they can learn how to use digital tools alongside those traditional tools. There'll also be some changes to student products, and they're great changes. As a parent, I know my least favorite thing my students do is worksheets, and part of the digital learning program encourages students to create and use digital tools to show us what they know in unique ways, like creating public service announcements, podcasts, digital comics, posters, ebooks, infographics, their own classroom newsletter, and maybe even one day their own blog. This will help our students be able to show us what they know in more creative ways. Remember, if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat box or email them to digitallearning@ocps.net. There will also be a few changes to the homeschool connection, including how you review your child's planner, reviewing student notes in their work, the way that you communicate with your child's teacher, how they access textbooks, and how you're responsible for the device. Let's learn more. In elementary school, students will still have a paper planner. In addition to that paper planner, your child's teacher may also post important dates like field trips and upcoming tests to their online class calendar in Canvas. I love this feature as a parent because I can have all of those events synced right to my phone and check them on the Canvas parent app, just in case my student forgets to bring home their planner, or maybe it's not accessible to me where I am at that moment. There will also be some changes to the way that you review your students' work. If their work is done on paper, it will still come home in their backpack like it always does. But if they turn in an assignment online, like a PowerPoint presentation or a digital poster, it might not come home in their backpack. So where will you find it? Well, the good news is you can find all their graded digital work in the Canvas parent app. And you can also see all of your students' digital products in their Google Drive. It's never more than a click of a button away. And inside of Canvas, you'll also be able to see not only the grade that the teacher gave your student for that digital work, but also any comments that they made and feedback for how they might improve. There'll also be some exciting changes to parent-teacher communication. Maybe you can't remember your teacher's email address all the time, or you're having a tough time contacting them. Well, there's a new way for you to contact your child's teacher, and that's also through the Canvas Parent app. You'll be able to send them a direct message from right inside the app, and the teacher will be able to see that message and respond to it. You'll also be able to sign up for notifications through Twitter, text message, or email when your teacher posts an important note or announcement for the class. Another one of my favorite features is I'm also able to set alerts by the activity happening in the classroom. Maybe you want to know every time your student scores less than an 80% or when they're missing an assignment. Canvas can help you with that. It can allow you to set those alerts, and every time that particular event or activity happens, it will send you a message so that you know to follow up with your student or your child's teacher. We often hear parents ask us, will my child either A, take their device home in elementary school, or B, have to use the internet? And the answer is no to both. Devices stay at school in elementary school, and students are not required to use the internet for homework. They are still going to have traditional paper-based homework at the elementary school grade levels. However, if your child needs to use the internet for a project, or maybe because you're interested in accessing our Launchpad, we do have a map of free Wi-Fi locations available on our district's website at digital.ocps.net. Your student is going to be using the same device every day in their classroom, and accidents happen. So it's important that you talk to your student at the beginning of the year about being very careful with their device and treating it the way that they would treat any other piece of technology that they might have in your own home. Carrying it with two hands, making sure that they put it away where it belongs, and that they follow their teacher's directions. It's important for you to remember that as the parent, ultimately, you are responsible for the damage, if there is any, to the device. Questions about fines and damage can be addressed with your student's school principal. If you have any questions about damages or fines, you can email your school's principal or email us at digitallearning@ocps.net. So what can you do to help prepare your family this summer before these changes take place? Well, the first thing you want to do is make sure you contact your school to find out when their digital open house is. At the digital open house, you'll learn how to check your students' online planner, their online binder, their files, and their grades, how to communicate with your students' teachers through that Canvas Parent app, how to help your student with their homework, some examples of how the fine process will work, and also how to give permission for your students to have their photo or video used and directory information released. You're going to receive an invitation to your school's open house through social media, email, and maybe even in your mailbox later in July. In the meantime, we recommend having a good old-fashioned family meeting where you talk about how you would like your students to use their device at school and your expectations for how they keep it safe. If you have any additional questions or concerns, you're always welcome to reach out to us at digitallearning@ocps.net. Thanks for joining us today.